Some truths are whispered, some are buried, and some are too heavy to carry alone. This is Spoken Truths, where silence breaks, pain speaks, and real stories finally get heard. No filters, no pretending, just truth. Welcome to the conversation.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is July the 16th, and I know it's been a little minute since y'all saw an episode for me. I had some, personal things going on amongst trying to get others to come on the show. But today is July the 16th, which is my mother's birthday, her heavenly birthday. So I decided to come on here and talk for a few minutes about her and my relationship with her. My mother had me at the age of 20. I have two brothers. I'm the middle child. Growing up with my mom, the real early years, like, 3, 4, 5, stuff like that. I don't remember a whole lot except for like the traumatic incidents that happened at that age. But I was blessed to have my mother for a short 29 years. Yeah, that was short. My mom was only 49 when she passed away. But I was blessed to have her. My mother was not the type of woman that showed a lot of emotions. So growing up with her was kind of difficult because I was the only girl in the house. So being the only girl, you know, you could imagine that I wanted that motherly daughter bond. And it wasn't there. Um, so I never understood, when I was younger. As I got older, and to be honest, when my mother passed away, I realized a lot that I didn't know back then. Um, my mom pretty much did drugs my whole life. And when I say drugs, what a drug, she never smoked cigarettes, but her choice of drug was crack cocaine. And, a lot of people that know my mom knew that what she did, but looking at her, you could never tell because my mom was, a big, robust woman, you know. So she didn't look strung out or weight falling off or was out there like doing things for drugs. Um, she pretty much did her drugs at home and it was not every day. And I feel like a lot of that is why we couldn't become close. Like I said, she wasn't a woman that showed a lot of emotions. And I remember one time going to my aunt, my great aunt, excuse me, which was my mom's aunt. I never knew my grandmother, but my mom's aunt, her name was Lucinda, Aunt Lucinda. She helped my mom raise us, a bit, did a lot for us. Well, I remember going to her one time and I asked her, you know, why is it that my mom don't like me or why I feel like she favored my brothers? Because my brothers could go, they could do what they want, they could, do anything and it wasn't really a problem. Me, she was hard on me. I really couldn't do much. So I just didn't understand. And my aunt, she told me, she said, baby, your mama love you. It's just that she was raised with just her brothers. And my mom's mom died when my mom was 4. and she was just raised in the house with her dad and her brothers. She had a sister, but her sister left home when my mom was young, and she never returned. So when my aunt told me that about, my mom just being raised by her brothers and dad, okay, I kind of understood. But at the same time, I was still her daughter, and I still, wanted that bond. Well, I feel like because I didn't have that bond with her, she didn't talk to me about life. She didn't talk to me about boys, men, or none of that. And the fact that I didn't have my father in my life, um, it caused me to look for love early. So by the time I was 15, I had my first child. So I remember, talking to my mom, asking her what was it about crack, that she liked. What I asked her was what made her start doing crack. And she told me that she just tried it, and ever since then she just kept doing it. And I remember we got into an argument one time because I felt like if she wasn't on drugs, she would have worked more. She would have been able to do more. She wouldn't have gotten sick. Because ultimately, my mom doing drugs for a long period of time caused her kidneys to fail, and she was on dialysis. Um, she got on dialysis at a very, very young age, and she also had heart problems from it. So I remember I was crying to her, mad, furious, like wanting her to stop. And she was just like, I've been doing this before you was born, and I'm gonna keep on doing this. And that was the only time she was like really angry, seemed like, or emotional about what I said. So I remember when we found out that I was pregnant, and we were staying with a guy that she had been dealing with. And I asked my mom before my son was born, would she please stop? And she told me she would. And the reason why I wanted her to stop because I didn't want her to have her first grandchild coming into this world with her using drugs, or being that I was young, I knew I was going to continue to go to school. She would have to keep my son, and I didn't want him to be around that. Well, she didn't stop, needless to say. Um, it went on and on and on for years. Um, I had some resentment towards her. I really did. I had some resentment towards my mom. When my kids came into this world, she was a great grandmother. She was a great grandmother. She stayed with me a period of time, but she was mostly on her own. She was very independent. By the time I had my kids, my mom had lost one of her legs, and then she ended up losing her other leg. So that's mostly, the memories they have with her about, her health state or whatever. But she still, loved them, bought them things, showered them with gifts, um, showed them more love and emotions than she ever showed me. And I always told myself that when I had kids, I would show them a lot of emotion and affection that I didn't get from my mom because I didn't want them to ever feel like they wasn't loved. Um, but yeah, I had a lot of resentment for her. But About 2 years before my mom passed away, we became close. Um, I talked to my mom every day anyway before that, but about 2 years, before she passed away, because that was around the time when her second leg got amputated, and she was in the hospital. My mom was in the hospital for 11 months. Um, and when she got out, she had got her place, and I called her every day. I tried to go see her every day or every other day, and we became real, real close. So I felt like she knew the end was coming because she had not gotten another kidney and she had been on dialysis for so long. And once her legs got amputated, it was hard for her. They wanted her to lose a certain amount of weight. And it was hard for my mom to exercise or do anything with, both legs amputated. And then she hadn't had the heart surgery. But yeah, we became very close. I told her, how much I love her. She told me how much she loved me. And like I said, it wasn't until she passed that I started realizing a lot. Now, I'm gonna go back to um, when I was younger, and um, around the age of 5, my uncle, my mother's baby brother, attempted to do some lewd acts, and then when I was like 11, you know, um, he molested me, and a lot of my resentment from my mom came from that because I felt like she didn't do enough to him. She made him leave our house at the time. He ended up going to Florida, and the stuff that happened to me really affected my life, and I felt like she should have did more. Um, but through therapy, just sitting in therapy, talking, and just in my own mind, not trying to make excuses for her or anything, but I just thought about like I had to think about like why is your mom why was your mom doing drugs at an early age? What make, a person turn to things like that? And it had to be pain. Um, why didn't your mom do more to your uncle when he did what he did? Well, one thing was my uncle is not that much older than me. So he was young. Um, and back then, my mom ain't had no money, no had no resources or nothing like that to or and she probably wasn't even thinking like, okay, I need to get him some help or I need to tell the family what's going on and get him some help because nobody knew except for when the stuff happened when we was younger, the people that was around then knew. But my like immediate family, like my uncles and stuff, they didn't even know because they live other places, other towns, other states. They didn't know that this stuff had occurred. They didn't know that what happened when when my uncle left to go to Florida. So I'm like, and I never knew they didn't know until like a couple of years ago. So I resented my mom because I felt like she should have did more to protect me. But like I said, the older I got after she passed and me going through therapy and me just thinking, and I'm just like, what if my mom went through the same things at the hands of people that was close to her? And I'm not trying to put nothing on nobody or nothing. None of my uncles are like that, my grandfather or nothing, but you gotta think about it. Um, she was the only girl. she was in the house with just men. Um, and not necessarily saying that it had to be them, but it could have been somebody else in the family. Because back then a lot of that stuff was not talked about, and things probably happened to her. She went to live with my great aunt when she was younger, from the age of 8 to the age of 12 in New York. Went to live with her husband. I mean, who knows what could have happened. And I just wonder. So, believing in my heart wholeheartedly that something occurred to her like that, it really, lifted that resentment that I had towards her. Um, I just think about my mom went through a whole lot, y'all. She went through a whole lot. Like physically, she went through a whole lot. And I didn't want her to leave because she was still so young, only 49. My kids were young, and I wanted her to live. But as the years go by, I am content. I feel like she's in a much better place. She's not suffering those silent battles anymore. Um, she's not dealing with the kidney problems, the heart problems, and that's what my mom ultimately died of: renal failure, kidney renal failure. And I just, I miss her so much. I do. I miss her so much. And I feel like I've been robbed. My brother's been robbed. My kids been robbed of a great woman. Even though she didn't show that emotion and stuff, she loved us. You know, she took care of us the best way she could with what she had. And just by me being in her presence, without all the finer things that everybody else had, kids that I was going to school with, how their parents showed up for them and everything. Without all of that, I still love my mom. I still feel like she is the reason why I'm the person I am today, the reason why I'm so strong, the reason why I'm independent, the reason why my mouth is the way it is, because y'all that know her know that that lady had a mouth. She didn't take nothing, but she had a great heart, and she did for a lot of people the same way I am. And I'm sorry for getting emotional, but I knew it was gonna come, and it's okay. um I just want to tell everybody that still has their mother, love her, cherish her, um but most importantly, try to understand her, you know, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are going through things with their mom, and they probably hate their mother or feel some type of way. Now, I never hated my mom, but like I said, I had resentment, a lot of things I didn't understand. But as I got older, I began to understand. So, yes, love your mother, cherish your mother. And for the ones that no longer have their mom like me, cherish those memories Think about the good. You're going to think about the bad too, but cherish those memories. Um, if you had a great, great mother, that's fine. If you didn't, try to be a better mom to your kids, you know, and just love on them. But yeah, just want to share that with you guys and just know that mom is always gonna be mom, and no one's gonna love you like your mom. Thank y'all for watching. Bye.